The Alderwick Museum shut at 6, but the building never truly slept. Air vents sighed through marble halls. Alarm lights blinked like tired eyes. Outside, South Kensington glittered with wet pavement and bus headlights. Inside, a private viewing waited in Gallery 9. Glass cases, quiet donors, and polite laughter that sounded too loud in a room of dead centuries. Tamsin Ward arrived early, damp hair tucked into her scarf, invitation folded twice in her pocket, like a secret she didn't fully trust. She wasn't a donor. She was a translator, hired because the museum's newest patron preferred deals explained in plain language. Tamsin drifted near the display cases to avoid small talk. The centerpiece was a Renaissance reliquary, silver filigree, tiny saints, and a pane of museum glass so clean it barely existed. A security guard stood by the door, expression neutral, shoes planted with the patience of someone paid to be invisible. A man named Conrad Vale entered like he owned the air. Expensive suit, careful smile, the look of someone who collects institutions the way others collect watches. With him came Dr. Elowen Price, the museum's deputy director, and a soft-spoken exhibitions engineer called Owen Rook. Owen carried a tablet, tapping through lighting presets as if the room were a stage. Vale laughed at something, then looked at the reliquary with hunger he tried to disguise as admiration. The viewing began with speeches, short, elegant, forgettable. Tamsin watched reflections instead of faces. The glass threw back a faint duplicate of the room, donors as ghosts, chandeliers as floating moons. When Owen adjusted the lights, the cases deepened, turning black behind the objects. The reliquary appeared to hover. Tamsin's own face hovered too, pale and uncertain, layered over centuries of devotion and theft. A small commotion broke near the entrance. Someone late, someone apologizing. The guard shifted his weight. Tamsin glanced up and saw, not directly but in the glass, a corridor behind her that wasn't supposed to be visible. In the reflection, a figure moved quickly. A second figure stepped into view. There was an arm raised, a sharp motion, and a stumble that looked like a man losing his balance in slow surprise. Tamsin turned instinctively. Behind her, only the gallery. Donors, smiles, no corridor, no struggle. She looked back to the glass. The reflected corridor showed it again. Movement, urgency, and then a body collapsing out of frame. Her mouth went dry. She caught the guard's reflection too. His uniform, his posture, his face angled down as if he were watching something on the floor. In the reflection, he looked guilty. In reality, he hadn't moved. Her pulse hammered with a childish certainty. I saw it. She stepped closer to the case, as if distance made lies possible. The glass held its image. The corridor in the reflection seemed deeper now, lit by a cold strip light. A hand appeared briefly, pale fingers scraping the wall, then disappeared. A sound escaped Tamsin's throat, somewhere between cough and scream. Conversation stuttered, then stopped. "Is everything all right?" Dr. Price asked, smile still on, but brittle. Tamsin pointed at the glass like an accusation. "There's someone—" She couldn't shape the sentence fast enough to keep up with what her eyes insisted on. Owen Rook leaned in, calm, curious. "What do you see?" he asked gently, as if she were describing a painting. Tamsin swallowed. "A man fell in the corridor. I saw it in the reflection." The guard at the door, Malik Hargreaves, finally moved, one step, then another, toward Tamsin. His expression tightened, not with anger, but with the practiced seriousness of someone trained to respond. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "there's no corridor behind that case." Tamsin's voice rose. "There is in the glass. I saw someone attack him." She heard herself say, "you," and the word landed like a slap. Malik froze. A donor gasped. Conrad Vale's eyes sharpened. Dr. Price's polite face drained of color. Owen Rook held up a hand, a soothing gesture. "Let's not jump," he said. "Malik, can you check the service hall?" Malik's jaw worked once, controlled. He nodded and stepped out. The door closed behind him with a soft seal, and for a moment the gallery felt vacuum-packed with tension. Tamsin kept staring at the glass as if it might confess. The reflection now showed only empty corridor and a smear of movement at the edge, like a shadow being dragged away by the building itself. Then the lights shifted slightly, and the corridor vanished. The case returned to its ordinary mirror of donors and chandeliers. Tamsin's throat tightened with panic. "It was there," she insisted, too loudly. "I'm not imagining it." A minute later, muffled shouting echoed faintly from somewhere distant. Footsteps, a radio crackle. The donors began to cluster, restless, eager for drama, but frightened of consequences. Owen Rook slipped his tablet into his jacket, eyes flicking to Dr. Price. She looked at him for a fraction too long, like she was asking a question without words. Conrad Vale drifted toward the exit, as if already planning how to control the story. Malik returned, breathing hard. "There's someone down," he said. "Service Hall B. I've called it in." Dr. Price's hand flew to her mouth. The donors erupted into worried murmurs. Owen Rook stepped forward, calm as ever. "We need to secure the gallery," he said. "Keep everyone here until police arrive." Conrad Vale's smile reappeared like a reflex. "Of course," he said. "Safety first." Police arrived with the damp smell of street rain and authority. The victim was confirmed, Conrad Vale's assistant, a quiet man named Jonah Lyle, found crumpled near a service doorway, throat bruised, eyes open in bewilderment. No blood, no theatrics, just absence where life should be. Tamsin's statement became the room's center gravity. "I saw it," she told the detective, D.I. Syra Dutt. "In the glass case, the reflection showed it." D. Dutt listened without mocking. She asked where Tamsin stood, where the case was, where the lights were set. Then she asked the uncomfortable question. And the attacker? Who did you see? Tamsin's stomach dropped again. The guard, she said, quieter now. Malik stood nearby, hands clasped, face controlled. The moment felt like a verdict forming. Malik spoke once, steady. I left the gallery to check a disturbance, he said. I wasn't in any corridor. CCTV became the next altar of truth. The museum's cameras showed Gallery 9 clearly. Tamsin by the case, donors turning, Malik exiting, donors panicking. Nothing else. No corridor murder. No struggle. Yet Malik's keycard logged him in the service network minutes before Jonah was found. His radio recorded a brief dead spot during that window. D.I. Dutt didn't accuse him openly, but the room's temperature changed. Malik felt it. So did Tamsin. At midnight, the gallery looked different. Empty chairs, taped-off doorways, evidence markers like tiny flags of shame. D.I. Dutt asked for a reconstruction. Tamsin stood where she'd stood, staring at the case until her eyes watered. Owen Rook adjusted the lighting to match earlier settings, cooperative as a saint. The glass reflected D.I. Dutt's face, sharp, searching, unsentimental. Show me, the detective said. Show me the corridor you saw. For a moment, nothing. Then Owen dimmed one strip of lights and brightened another. The reliquary gleamed, the glass deepened, and there, faintly, appeared that corridor again, like a thought returning. D.I. Dutt leaned closer. That's not behind the case, she murmured. That's coming from somewhere else. Owen smiled mildly. Museum glass is complex, he said. Laminations, angles. It can pick up reflections you wouldn't expect. D.I. Dutt didn't like explanations that arrived too neatly. She asked for schematics. Owen provided them. Gallery 9 backed onto a sealed storage wall, no corridor, yet the reflected corridor looked real. Service paint, strip lighting, a familiar staff-only sign. D.I. Dutt's gaze slid past Owen to the ceiling. Where is the nearest corridor that looks like that? She asked. Someone muttered, Service Hall B, the place Jonah died. That night, D.I. Dutt walked Service Hall B with a torch. The walls matched the reflected corridor perfectly. Same strip light, same scuffed paint. She looked for anything glossy enough to bounce an image into Gallery 9. Metal, glass, polished stone. Near a junction box, she found a temporary panel. Matte black, freshly installed, bolted cleanly. Owen Rook's signature sat on the work order. D.I. Dutt's interest sharpened into suspicion. Malik was sent home pending investigation, not arrested yet. The museum press office began crafting phrases like tragic incident and full cooperation. Tamsin went back to her flat, and stared at her own windows, half expecting the city to reflect something it shouldn't. She replayed the moment over and over. The movement, the arm, the fall. If it was a trick, it was a cruel one, and it had chosen her as the witness. D.I. Dutt visited Tamsin the next day with a small kindness, a coffee, no sugar. "You're not stupid," the detective said. "You saw something. I'm trying to work out what." Tamsin exhaled shakily. "So I didn't ruin an innocent man's life?" D.I. Dutt didn't promise. "Not yet," she said. "But someone wanted you to believe it was him. That matters. Tell me everything you noticed about the glass." Tamsin described the glass, too perfect, too dark behind the object when the lights shifted, like a window to somewhere else. D.I. Dutt nodded slowly. "There's a theatrical technique," she said, "old but effective. You can make an image appear in glass at the right angle. Not magic, physics." Tamsin frowned. "So I saw a reflection of a reflection?" D.I. Dutt's mouth tightened. "Or a reflection of something staged, meant to look like murder." Back at the museum, D.I. Dutt pulled the case apart with specialists. The glass wasn't standard. It was a custom cane, museum grade, anti-reflective, plus an extra laminated layer. A thin film sat inside, barely detectable unless you knew where to look. The film wasn't for protection, it was for control. D.I. Dutt stared at it under a work light. "This isn't just reducing glare," she murmured. "This is shaping what people see." Owen Rook explained smoothly. "We tested a new laminate," he said. "Improves clarity under low light, helpful for evening events." D.I. Dutt held his gaze. "And who approved it?" Owen smiled. "Dr. Price," he said. Dr. Price looked cornered, then composed herself. "Owen is our engineer," she said. "I trusted his expertise." D.I. Dutt let the silence stretch. Trust, she thought, was a lovely word for the beginnings of betrayal. The next clue arrived as a mistake. A junior technician mentioned a dry run the week before, a rehearsal for the private viewing, lighting cues, donor placement. It was like theater, the technician said, proud. D.I. Dutt asked who attended. Owen, Dr. Price, Vale popped in, and a woman, I think, not staff, blonde, said she was helping with accessibility. Tamsin's stomach turned. She wasn't blonde. D. Dutt requested guest lists, contractors, temporary badges. Someone had signed in as A. Merritt, vendor liaison. The ID photo showed a blonde woman with an unmemorable smile. The signature on her paperwork was careful, almost printed. The badge had been used near Service Hall B the night Jonah died. D.I. Dutt traced the name. Fake. The museum's HR system had no vendor record. Someone had walked in wearing paperwork like armor. Tamsin returned to the museum at D.I. Dutt's request. She hated the building now, the echo of her own footsteps, the way every glass surface seemed capable of lying. She stood beside the case again. D.I. Dutt placed a strip of tape on the floor. "Do not move," she said. Then she had an officer stand in Service Hall B at a measured angle. Owen Rook protested mildly. "This is unnecessary," he said. D.I. Dutt ignored him. When the lights shifted to the event preset, the officer appeared, faintly, in the glass. Not directly, offset, like a memory in the wrong place. D.I. Dutt's eyes narrowed. "There," she said softly. "You didn't see a corridor behind the case. You saw Service Hall B bounced through a controlled laminate." Tamsin's throat tightened. "So the murder happened there," she whispered, "and I saw it." D.I. Dutt shook her head once. "Or you saw what they wanted you to swear you saw." They tested further. Owen's lighting cue made the reflection sharper, then softer, like a focus pull in film. D.I. Dutt asked a simple question. "Can this glass show a recorded reflection?" The conservator blinked. "If there's a film layer designed to accept projected light at an angle, yes," she admitted. The gallery went quiet. Owen Rook's smile thinned almost imperceptibly. "That would be an absurd misuse," he said. His voice sounded rehearsed. D.I. Dutt obtained Owen's tablet. It contained lighting scenes with names like G9_dusk, G9_patron, and one called G9 Mirror. That last one wasn't listed on the museum's official presets. It was hidden behind a passcode. Owen claimed it was a backup profile. D.I. Dutt had a technician clone the device. The file linked to Mirror was not lighting data alone. It included timed audio triggers and a short video clip. The clip was grainy, but clear enough to ruin lives. A corridor, a man stepping into frame, another figure approaching from behind, a struggle, a fall. The figure wore a guard's uniform, Malik's uniform, down to the shoulder patch. D.I. Dutt watched it twice, then a third time without blinking. "This isn't CCTV," she said. "It's staged." The movements were too clean, too cinematic. The guard never showed a face. It was a costume on a body. Tamsin felt sick. "So I was tricked," she whispered, "and Malik was framed." D.I. Dutt nodded once. "Yes." She paused. "But that doesn't tell us who killed Jonah. It tells us who needed a scapegoat in the first 10 minutes. The museum was full of people with motives, money, reputation, access, but only a few had the skill to weaponize a display case like a theater screen." D.I. Dutt's eyes returned to Owen Rook. Owen didn't run, not yet. He sat politely in an interview room and explained everything with measured patience. He blamed an unknown intruder for tampering with his tablet. He blamed vendor chaos for badge errors. He blamed human imagination for Tamsin's certainty. D.I. Dutt listened, then asked softly, "Why did Jonah Lyle die at all?" Owen's pupils tightened. "Tragic accident," he said. "Perhaps he fell." D.I. Det leaned in. People don't fall into bruises. Dr. Price cracked first. She admitted Conrad Vale had threatened the museum, funding withdrawn, reputations shredded, unless she delivered something private. Jonah's copy of a contract. A contract that proved Vale didn't donate the reliquary. He stole it, laundered it, then offered it back as generosity. Jonah had been keeping evidence. Dr. Price whispered, "He said he'd go public." D.I. Dutt's expression hardened. "So someone silenced him," she said, "and someone else turned you into a stage prop." The reliquary case was opened for conservation. Inside, behind the velvet mount, D.I. Dutt found a missing screw and a faint smear of adhesive. Something had been attached there, small, flat, and removed in haste. A microprojector, perhaps, or a reflective guide. The murder wasn't the only act of the night. It was also cover. In the panic, with donors staring at Tamsin, someone could slip away and take something priceless without anyone noticing. Inventory confirmed it. A tiny item was gone. Not the reliquary itself, too obvious. A detachable gem, an antique bloodstone cabochon set beneath the base, catalogued but rarely discussed. Worth a fortune, easy to pocket. Owen Rook had designed the mount. He knew exactly where it sat. D.I. Dutt's voice went flat. "He didn't just frame a guard," she said. "He orchestrated a distraction to steal and used a staged reflection murder to seal the witness statement." They found Owen's exit route in the building logs. A door opened with a master override at 1843, 2 minutes before Malik returned from his corridor check. The override code belonged to facilities. Owen had access. CCTV at that door had been under maintenance for 3 hours, signed off by Owen. D.I. Dutt stared at the paperwork. "He wasn't hiding," she murmured. "He was writing the script. And like any good script, it made the innocent look guilty." Owen finally broke when D.I. Dutt showed him the staged clip. Not outrage, recognition. "It's clever," he said quietly, almost admiring himself. Then his face hardened. "You don't understand," he added. "Vale would have buried us. He owned everyone." D.I. Dutt's tone stayed calm. "So you murdered Jonah to protect the museum?" Owen laughed once, sharp. "No," he said. "I murdered Jonah because Jonah had proof, and I stole the stone because I deserved payment." Malik was cleared publicly a week later. The museum issued statements. Dr. Price resigned. Owen Rook was charged, his cleverness reduced to evidence bags and court dates. Tamsin stood outside the Alderwick on a cold afternoon and watched tourists file past the grand steps, unaware of the lies glass could tell. D.I. Dutt joined her briefly. "You did the right thing," the detective said. Tamsin didn't feel heroic. She felt older. "I'll never trust reflections again," she replied. D.I. Dutt's mouth curved. "Good," she said. "Neither should anyone." 2 days after Malik's clearance, The museum reopened with new signage about enhanced security. The public returned, obediently curious. Tamsin didn't. She stayed away until D.I. Dutt asked her to come in for one last detail: Jonah Lyle's final movements. Jonah's phone had pinged near Gallery 9 minutes before the viewing. Not Service Hall B, Gallery 9. Tamsin stared at the map on D.I. Dutt's screen. "So he was already near the glass," she said, voice thin. In Jonah's locker, they found a folded museum pamphlet with a scribbled line. "Case laminate. Ask about mirror." Under it, a name, Merritt. D.I. Dutt slid the paper across the table. "You never met a Merritt?" Tamsin shook her head. "No." She hesitated. "But I heard staff mention a blonde woman." D.I. Dutt nodded once. "She's the missing piece. Owen built the trick. Merritt brought it to life." CCTV outside the museum caught a woman matching the badge photo. Blonde hair pinned back, dark coat. No hurry, leaving through a side entrance at 1844. Her face stayed conveniently angled away from the camera. The next camera showed her again across the street, but now she wore a different scarf and walked with a different posture. D.I. Dutt watched, unimpressed. "She's trained," she murmured, "or experienced." Tamsin's stomach tightened. And she's still out there. That night, Tamsin dreamed of glass that remembered lies. She woke to her phone buzzing, an unknown number, a single text. "You saw what we needed you to see." No threat, no demand, just possession. Tamsin stared until the screen dimmed. She forwarded it to D.I. Dutt with shaking hands. D.I. Dutt replied a minute later. "Do not delete. Do not respond. Lock your doors. I'm sending someone." Tamsin didn't feel safer. She felt noticed. A patrol car idled outside her building for 2 nights, then stopped coming. On the 3rd night, Tamsin spotted a woman across the road under a shop awning, watching the entrance. Blonde hair, neat coat, perfectly still. Tamsin blinked, and the woman stepped back into shadow, gone. Tamsin called D.I. Dutt immediately. D.I. Dutt arrived within an hour, scanning faces, corners, reflections. "She wants you unsettled," D.I. Dutt said. "Unsettled people make mistakes." D. Dutt's team raided Owen Rook's flat and found a shoebox of claim tags, luggage style, numbered, blank on the back. They didn't match the museum. They matched airports, train stations, galleries. "He's done this before," D.I. Dutt said. A second box held thin film sheets like the laminate inside the case, each labeled with a city name in Owen's neat writing: Paris, Vienna, London. Tamsin's throat tightened. "So the museum wasn't unique," she whispered. "It was a rehearsal." Conrad Vale hired lawyers who spoke like velvet blades. He wasn't charged, he was cooperating. He gave statements from boardrooms, then from a penthouse, never the same location twice. D.I. Dutt visited him anyway. Vale greeted her with expensive calm. "A tragedy," he said. "My assistant dead. A museum embarrassed. I'm the victim here as well." D.I. Dutt's gaze didn't soften. "Jonah was collecting evidence against you," she said. Vale's smile didn't falter. "Jonah was loyal," he replied, "until he wasn't." D.I. Dutt left with a feeling she couldn't file as evidence. Vale was enjoying the attention. He liked being central, like a man who believed cameras existed to confirm his importance. Outside, D.I. Dutt called Tamsin. "Vale says Jonah stole documents," D.I. Dutt said, "but Jonah's laptop is missing. Not in the museum, not in his flat." Tamsin swallowed. "So someone took it." D.I. Dutt's voice went quiet. "And they might think you know where it is." The museum's press release called the stolen bloodstone a minor component. That lie irritated D.I. Dutt. Items aren't minimized unless someone wants them forgotten. She requested the original acquisition file, unredacted. It arrived with pages missing. Dr. Price had signed the redactions. D.I. Dutt stared at the gaps. Price protected someone, she said, or herself. That evening, Dr. Price didn't answer her phone. By midnight, a museum cleaner found her office door locked from the inside. Dr. Price was alive, barely, slumped at her desk, breathing shallow, a glass of water spilled beside her keyboard. No blood, no struggle, just exhaustion carved into a body like punishment. The paramedics said overdose, but D.I. Dutt didn't accept the word as a conclusion. On the desk, beneath her hand, was a sticky note. Not Owen. She arranged it. No name, just she. Dr. Price's eyes fluttered once as D.I. Dutt leaned in, and then she whispered, "Merritt." Dr. Price survived long enough to speak in a hospital room that smelled of disinfectant and regret. "Merritt handled Vale's problems," she rasped. "She came with him. She fixed things." D.I. Dutt asked, "Fixed how?" Dr. Price's gaze slid away. "By making the truth look like something else," she said. "By choosing what people remember." Tamsin sat at the foot of the bed, hands clenched, feeling the words settle inside her like cold stones. Dr. Price explained the dry run. Merritt had stood where Tamsin stood, testing angles, counting seconds. Owen adjusted lighting, proud. "It's just optics," he'd said. Merritt smiled and replied, "Optics are everything." Vale had watched without interest until Merritt played the staged clip. Then he nodded once, satisfied. "A witness is useful," he said. Dr. Price's breath rattled as she remembered. "I thought it was intimidation," she whispered. "I didn't think they'd actually kill Jonah." D. Dutt left the hospital furious and focused. She pulled phone records tied to the Merritt badge sign-in. A burner. But the burner had touched one tower repeatedly, near the river, east of Tower Bridge. Whopping. a warehouse district dressed up as luxury. D.I. Dutt assembled a small team. "If Merritt is real," she said, "she'll have a base or a drop point." She didn't tell Tamsin the address. She just said, "Stay home. Curtains closed." Tamsin didn't stay home. Fear had changed shape. It wasn't panic anymore. It was anger with a pulse. She walked anyway, keeping to crowded streets, choosing shop windows that reflected the pavement behind her. Twice she saw a blonde woman in the glass, not beside her, but behind her, always behind. On the third reflection, the woman was closer. Tamsin turned. No one. She turned back to the window. The reflection showed the woman walking away, as if the glass had its own reality. That night, a package arrived at Tamsin's door with no return address. Inside, a cheap handheld mirror wrapped in brown paper. Taped to the back was a museum claim tag. Blank. No writing, no clue, just implication. Tamsin's hands shook as she held it up. Her hallway reflected behind her, unchanged. But for a moment, just a moment, the mirror caught a different corridor. Strip lighting, scuffed paint, staff only. Then it snapped back to her hallway like a blink. Tamsin called D.I. Dutt and described the mirror. D.I. Dutt arrived with gloves and a technician. Under a strong light, they found a thin film applied to the mirror's surface, nearly invisible. D.I. Dutt's jaw tightened. "She's showing you she can do it anywhere," D.I. Dutt said. "Not just the museum." Tamsin's voice cracked. "Why?" D.I. Dutt didn't lie. "Because she wants you to doubt yourself again. Doubt ruins testimony. Doubt ruins memory." The technician discovered the film wasn't random. It was cut to a precise shape, aligned to a precise viewing angle. "It's designed to accept projected imagery from a distance," he said. D.I. Dutt stared at the mirror, then at Tamsin's window. "Did you open the package outside?" Tamsin shook her head. "No." D.I. Dutt's eyes narrowed. "Then someone got into your building and placed it at your door. That's either confidence or access." D.I. Dutt's team found the access point, a broken latch on the communal back entrance, repaired recently with a screw that didn't match the others. Someone had fixed it so it looked intact, but opened smoothly with a thin tool. D.I. Dutt photographed the screw, bagged it, and asked the building manager about recent contractors. The manager mentioned a maintenance woman with blonde hair who'd offered to help after reading about the museum incident. D.I. Dutt's expression went cold. "She's playing helpful," she said. The next morning, Jonah Lyle's mother called D.I. Dutt. Jonah's old suitcase had been delivered to her doorstep. Inside, Jonah's coat, a battered notebook, and a single USB drive taped under the lining. The delivery label had no sender, just a typed line, "Returned property." D.I. Dutt brought it to the lab personally. The USB contained a folder titled Veil, Provenance, and another titled Mirror List. Tamsin watched D.I. Dutt's face tighten as the files loaded. The Provenance folder held scans, shipping manifests, customs declarations, donation paperwork, all pointing to one conclusion. Vale had stolen the reliquary years earlier, moved it through shell charities, then returned it for prestige. The mirror list was worse. Dates, locations, targets, and one repeated phrase beside each: witness control. D.I. Dutt's finger stopped on a line. Alderwick, Tamsin Ward, selected. Tamsin's blood turned to ice. "They chose me," she whispered, "before I even walked in." D.I. Dutt didn't comfort her. She acted. She requested warrants, froze accounts, and prepared an arrest for Conrad Vale, until Vale vanished. His penthouse staff said he left for a private retreat. His driver claimed he'd been sent away. His phone went dead. But Merritt's burner pinged again near the river. Wapping, same tower. D.I. Dutt tightened her team and moved fast. "We're done letting them choose the stage," she said. "Now we choose it." They found the Wapping address, a renovated warehouse with black-framed windows and a security gate that looked like art. Inside, the space was staged like a studio. Tripods, compact projectors, film sheets, and a wall of mirrors. Not decorative mirrors, working mirrors. Each one tagged with a location name. D.I. Dutt walked past them slowly, seeing herself fractured into dozens of angles. "So this is how she does it," she said, voice flat. Then an officer called out from the back room, "Ma'am, you need to see this." On a table lay the bloodstone cabochon, real, dark green, glossy as a bruise. Beside it, a tiny metal housing designed to clip under a display mount. It wasn't jewelry storage, it was a hiding place. Inside the housing, they found a sliver of microfilm wrapped in protective plastic. D.I. Dutt exhaled through her nose. "Jonah hid evidence inside the stone," she said. "Owen stole it, but Merritt kept the real prize." Tamsin's skin prickled. "So the murder was for information," she said, "not the gem." Footsteps sounded upstairs. Someone was in the building. D.I. Dutt signaled silence, weapons low but ready. They moved like a practiced unit through stairwells that smelled of old river damp. On the mezzanine, a door stood ajar, warm light spilling out. A woman's voice drifted down, calm, amused. "I said you'd come," she said, as if speaking to a friend. D.I. Dutt stepped into the room and saw Adrian Merritt sitting at a desk, pouring tea. Conrad Vale stood behind her, pale and furious. Merritt smiled at D.I. Dutt with the politeness of someone meeting inevitability. "Detective," she said. Vale snapped, "This is absurd." Merritt lifted a hand, and he stopped talking instantly, like a trained dog. D.I. Dutt's eyes flicked to the desk. A projector sat there, powered on, aimed at a mirror angled toward the door. "No tricks," D.I. Dutt warned. Merritt's smile widened. "Tricks are for children," she said softly. "This is narrative." Then she looked past D.I. Dutt, straight at Tamsin, and said, "Hello, witness." Tamsin couldn't breathe. Merritt said witness the way a jeweler says stone. Vale's hands clenched and unclenched behind her, as if anger needed somewhere to go. D.I. Dutt kept her voice level. "You're under arrest," she said. Merritt didn't flinch. "For what?" she asked. "For understanding glass." Her gaze slid to the projector, then to the mirror, then back to Tamsin. "She's the one who makes it real," Merritt said softly. "Without her, it's only light."
Vale barked. "This is insane. I demand." Merritt lifted 2 fingers. He stopped mid-syllable again. D.I. Dutt noticed the habit with a sick admiration. Control wasn't always violence. Sometimes it was training. "Turn it off," D.I. Dutt said, nodding at the projector. Merritt tilted her head. "If I do, you'll think you've won," she replied, "and then you'll write the wrong story." D.I. Dutt stepped closer. "You've been writing stories with dead people in them," she said.
Merritt sighed, as if D.I. Dutt had disappointed her. "Jonah died because he believed paperwork could beat power," she said. Vale's jaw tightened, eyes flickering toward the window. "You killed him," D.I. Dutt said to Merritt. Merritt smiled. "No," she said. "I made sure the right man was blamed." The words landed like cold rain. Tamsin felt her own guilt sharpen. Malik's suspended life, her accusation, her certainty. Merritt watched her expression with quiet pleasure.
D.I. Dutt signaled her team. 2 officers moved to Vale, who finally snapped out of Merritt's invisible leash and began protesting loudly. Merritt didn't move. She merely reached toward a small remote on the desk. D.I. Dutt's hand tightened on her own weapon, not raised, but ready. "Don't," D.I. Dutt warned. Merritt pressed the button anyway. The projector's light brightened. The mirror caught it, and the room's reflection shifted, subtly wrong, like reality misaligned. In the mirror, D.I. Dutt appeared to step forward aggressively, her face twisted, her hand raised high, too high. Her mouth formed words she hadn't spoken. Tamsin heard her own breath hitch. Merritt's voice remained calm in the real room. "Do you know what juries trust?" she asked. "Not memory, not testimony. They trust what looks like footage." D.I. Dutt didn't look at the mirror. She stared at Merritt. "You're recording," she said. "You want a clip."
An officer lunged for the projector. Merritt didn't panic. She smiled and let him go. The officer yanked the power cord. The room's light snapped back to normal, the mirror returning to honest reflection. But the damage lingered. Tamsin had seen the false version for a second too long, like an after-image burned into the mind. D.I. Dutt exhaled once. "You've done this before," she said. Merritt shrugged. "People ask for reality," she replied. "I supply something cheaper."
Vale tried to push past an officer toward the door. D.I. Dutt's team blocked him. Vale's face glistened with sweat now, his composure cracking in bright strips. "I donated millions," he snapped. "That museum exists because of me." D.I. Dutt's voice stayed flat. "Jonah existed too," she said. Vale's mouth tightened. "Jonah stole," he hissed. Merritt glanced at him like a bored teacher. "Conrad," she said softly, "stop performing. It's beneath you."
D.I.'s phone buzzed with a lab message. The microfilm was readable. She opened the photo attachment. Lines of typed text, dates, a meeting schedule, and one message thread, sparse but unmistakable. Vale's private number, verified by warrants. The last line made D.I.'s stomach go hard. Remove him before the viewing. Make it Liddy.
D.I. lifted her eyes slowly. Vale saw her expression and understood instantly. His face went blank with calculation.
Vale laughed. Too late, too forced. "You can't prove that's mine," he said. "Deepfakes exist. Forgery exists." D.I. held up the phone. "Your number exists," she replied. Merritt leaned back in her chair, amusement returning. "He's going to blame me," Merritt told Tamsin casually, as if discussing weather. "Men like Conrad always do." Vale snapped. "You were hired for discretion." Merritt's smile sharpened. "And you were hired for morality," she replied. "We both failed." D.I. ordered Vale cuffed. Vale's resistance became pathetic, full of choking outrage. Merritt stood at last, smoothing her coat as if leaving a dinner party. "You won't keep me," she said to D.I. "You'll keep a story about me." D.I. gestured toward the officers. "Cuff her," she said. Merritt offered her wrists willingly. The ease of it unsettled Tamsin more than defiance would have. Merritt looked at her one last time. "You'll remember the mirror," she said, "not the facts." Downstairs, the warehouse felt colder. The river air slipped through old bricks like a whisper. D.I.'s team moved Merritt and Vale towards separate cars. Tamsin stayed close to D.I., unwilling to let distance create new lies. Then a shout came from the entrance. "Ma'am, vehicle!" Headlights flared. A van rolled forward too fast, aiming for the gap between officers. For a heartbeat, Tamsin saw it as another reflection trick, until the tires screamed against wet stone. D.I. shoved Tamsin back behind a pillar. Officers dragged Vale aside. Merritt did something unexpected. She dropped her body weight and twisted, pulling an officer off balance in a messy, human movement. Nothing like her composed theater. The van door slid open. A masked figure reached out. Merritt's eyes flicked to D.I. once, cool and apologetic, as if saying, "This is how stories escape." Then Merritt dove into the van. The door slammed. The van surged forward and vanished into the rain. Vale screamed after it, furious, betrayed. "She can't leave me," he shouted, as if Merritt were property. D.I. didn't chase the van blindly. She memorized it, plate, dent, paint scuff. She looked at Vale with a steady contempt. "She didn't leave you," D.I. said. "She finished with you." Vale's face crumpled in disbelief. He had built a life on the assumption that money made people loyal. Watching him learn otherwise felt almost indecent. At the station, Vale's arrogance returned in waves. He demanded lawyers, demanded calls, demanded comfort he'd never earned. D.I. let him speak until he exhausted himself. Then she slid Jonah's final notebook across the table. pages of careful handwriting about the reliquary, the bloodstone, the mirror laminate, and one last line, underlined twice. Merit doesn't work for Vale. Vale works for Merit. Vale stared, and for the first time, he looked genuinely afraid. Tamsin gave her statement again, this time with the mirror clip and the laminate evidence. She described Merit's text, the delivered mirror, the repeated corridor. Saying it out loud didn't cleanse it, it made it heavier. D.I. Dutt watched her carefully. "None of this is your fault," D.I. Dutt said. Tamsin almost laughed. "I pointed at Malik," she replied. "I said you. I watched his face change." D.I. Dutt's voice softened. "They designed the trap around your honesty," she said. "That's why it worked." Malik came to the station after midnight. He looked tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. When he saw Tamsin, his jaw set with restraint, not rage. "I'm sorry," Tamsin said, and meant it so hard it hurt. Malik studied her a long moment. "I don't want your guilt," he said quietly. "I want your truth in court." Tamsin nodded, swallowing the burn in her throat. Malik glanced at D.I. Dutt. "You catch her?" he asked. D.I. Dutt's mouth tightened. "Not yet," she said. The museum board moved quickly to protect itself. They offered Malik a settlement. They offered Tamsin support services. They offered D.I. Dutt nothing but paperwork delays. Vale's lawyers tried to fracture the case, arguing optics, interpretation, alternative suspects. D.I. Dutt answered with records and microfilm and the simple, unglamorous brutality of Jonah's bruises. Yet Merit remained a ghost with a name. Each time D.I. Dutt thought she'd cornered a lead, it dissolved into someone else's signature, someone else's badge, someone else's reflection. 3 weeks later, a new video appeared online. It was short, grainy, shot from a distance. A museum display case reflecting a corridor. A figure in uniform. A fall. The clip looked like the staged one, except it ended with a close-up of a woman's face in the glass. Tamsin's face. Her eyes wide, her mouth forming Malik's name. The caption read, "Witness lies, guard kills." The comments were a swarm. The internet chose the easiest story instantly. Tamsin watched the clip once and felt her body go cold. "That's not real," she whispered, even as her brain begged to believe what it saw. D.I. Dutt's eyes narrowed at the frame artifacts. "It's spliced," she said, "and it's meant to poison the jury pool." Malik stared at the screen, face unreadable. "So she's still writing," he murmured. D.I. Dutt nodded. "And she's writing with you as the villain," D.I. Dutt said. "She wants you desperate enough to make a mistake." That night, Tamsin walked home under streetlights that looked too much like surveillance. In the reflection of a shop window, she saw a blonde woman beside her for 3 steps. Tamsin froze. The reflection froze too. Then the woman lifted a hand in the glass, a small, almost friendly wave, and disappeared when Tamsin turned her head. Tamsin kept walking, heart hammering, refusing to run. If Merritt wanted panic, she wouldn't be paid with it. At home, Tamsin found her curtains slightly parted, though she was sure she'd closed them. On her table lay a museum pamphlet she didn't remember bringing in. A line was circled in black ink. Objects reveal what we choose to see. Beneath it, one sentence. Meet me where you first believed the glass. No signature, no threat. Tamsin sat down slowly, feeling the room tilt. She forwarded it to D.I. Dutt and waited for the reply like a drowning person waits for air. D.I. Dutt arrived within an hour, coat still wet from rain. She wants to isolate you, D.I. Dutt said. Tamsin's voice shook despite her effort. Or she wants to talk. D.I. Dutt looked at her hard. Talk is how she wins, D.I. Dutt replied. She paused, but we can use it. D.I. Dutt arranged surveillance, backup, routes. Tamsin listened, numb. Even now, D.I. Dutt avoided the word trap, but it sat in the room anyway, invisible and certain. They returned to the Alderwick after closing. Gallery 9 waited in darkness like an open mouth. The reliquary was gone, removed for conservation, leaving an empty plinth that felt accusatory. D.I. Dutt kept her hand near her radio. Tamsin stood on the same taped spot as before, staring at the case, now just glass and absence. If she's here, Tamsin whispered, she'll use the reflection. D.I. Dutt nodded. Let her, she said. This time we know where to look. A soft click sounded from the ceiling. The lights shifted, subtle, controlled. The glass deepened, and the corridor reappeared as if resurrected. But this time, the corridor showed not a murder, just a woman standing still. Blonde hair, dark coat, Adrienne Merritt. She looked straight toward the camera angle, as if seeing Tamsin through layers of glass. Her lips moved, but there was no sound. Then words appeared, projected faintly across the glass like a subtitle. You can't arrest a reflection. D. Dutt spoke to the empty room. Projection unit, she said. Find it. Officers moved quietly along the walls, scanning vents, corners, the underside of benches. Tamsin stared at Merritt's reflected face, sickened by how intimate it felt. Merritt's image smiled and lifted a hand, as if pressing against invisible glass from the other side. Then the corridor image began to drift, sliding away like a scene change, guiding attention toward the far exit door. D.I. Dutt didn't follow the image. She followed the physics. She traced the angle from glass to ceiling, to the corner where a black panel had been replaced. New screws, clean edges. An officer pulled it down. Inside, a small projector, warm to the touch, running on a battery pack. D.I. Dutt held it up like a captured insect. Found your ghost, she murmured. The corridor image flickered once, then died. The gallery returned to honest darkness. A slow clap echoed from somewhere in the museum. Real, not projected. D.I. Dutt froze. The clap came again, closer. From the doorway, a woman stepped into view. Blonde hair, dark coat, empty hands. Adrian Merritt, in flesh, not glass. She smiled as if arriving precisely on time. "Detective," she said, "you're improving." D.I. Dutt's voice was ice. "Hands where I can see them," she ordered. Merritt lifted her hands gently. "Of course," she said. "I came to surrender a story." Merritt's gaze flicked to Tamsin, almost fond. "You hate me," Merritt said. "That's good. Hate makes memory sharp." Tamsin's voice shook. "You ruined Malek's life." Merritt nodded once, as if acknowledging weather again. "Temporarily," she replied. "He'll recover. Jonah won't." D.I. Dutt stepped forward. "You're under arrest," she said again, and this time the room felt ready to believe it. Merritt smiled. "On what charge?" she asked. "Being persuasive?" D.I. Dutt didn't argue. She produced the microfilm printout, the burner pings, the warehouse evidence, the delivered mirror film. Merritt listened like a critic. Then she sighed. "Conrad wrote that message," Merritt said, glancing at the printout. "Conrad paid for the removal. Owen built the stage. I merely ensured the audience looked in the right direction." D.I. Dutt's eyes narrowed. "So you admit conspiracy," she said. Merritt's smile softened. "I admit taste," she replied. "Conspiracy is such an ugly word." D.I. Dutt moved to cuff her. Merritt didn't resist. But as the cuffs clicked, Merritt leaned closer to Tamsin and whispered, barely audible, "Check the first reflection again." Tamsin's stomach dropped. "What?" she breathed. Merritt only smiled, eyes bright with private amusement. D.I. Dutt pulled Merritt away. In the sudden quiet, Tamsin looked back at the glass case and saw, faintly, a corridor she hadn't noticed, a figure dragging something heavy, just out of frame, like a body being moved. D. Dutt saw it too. Movement where shouldn't be movement. Not a corridor illusion this time, but a live image. A service passage behind the case, lit harshly. Someone hauling a wheeled crate. D.I. Dutt's hand snapped to her radio. "Basement access, now." Officers broke formation. Merritt, cuffed, watched with calm interest, like she'd just turned a page. Tamsin stayed rooted for one heartbeat longer, staring at the figure's shoes, security issue boots, museum standard. Then she ran. They reached the staff stairwell and descended into air that smelled of dust and old paint. The service corridor stretched ahead, lined with locked doors and signage nobody read. The crate's wheels squealed somewhere around a corner. D.I. Dutt signaled silence. A shadow moved, then paused, listening. Tamsin caught the soft rhythm of breathing, someone trying not to be heard. D.I. Dutt stepped out first, weapon low. "Stop," she called. The crate jerked, then rolled faster. The figure turned the corner and slammed into a door marked Conservation Hold. Keys rattled. The door resisted. Panic made hands clumsy. D.I. Dutt closed the distance fast. "Hands up," she ordered again. The figure spun. Male, broad-shouldered, face flushed with effort. Not Moloch, not Vale. The man wore a museum lanyard with the temporary security pass that had replaced Moloch's old badge. His eyes flicked to Tamsin and hardened with recognition, as if she'd interrupted something personal.
His name tag read Elliot Crane, Deputy Head of Security, the one who'd helpfully walked reporters around the new signage. He lunged, not at D.I. Dutt, at Tamsin. D.I. Dutt's officer tackled him, slamming him against the wall. Crane fought like a man with a deadline. He hissed, "You were supposed to forget." Tamsin's hands shook, but she didn't step back. "I remember everything," she said, and the words sounded braver than she felt.
D.I. Dutt yanked the crate open. Inside were foam inserts, museum-grade packing, and a hidden compartment beneath them. She pulled out a slim laptop wrapped in plastic. Jonah Lyle's missing laptop. D.I. Dutt stared at it like a final tooth in a skull. Crane's face collapsed into fury. "It was never meant to leave," he spat. D.I. Dutt's voice went cold. "You hid it behind the case," she said. "You used the glass to watch the corridor while you worked." Crane laughed once, bitter. "The glass was genius," he said, struggling under the officer's grip. "No cameras in the service passage. Everyone looks at the exhibits, not the guts of the place." D.I. Dutt leaned in. "Who taught you?" Crane's eyes flicked, upward, reflective, like checking where the mirror would be. "Ask your witness," he sneered toward Tamsin. She already met her teacher. Tamsin felt the museum's air turn thin. Merritt's whisper echoed in her head. "Check the first reflection again." D.I. Dutt had officers bring Crane upstairs, past Merritt, past the empty plinth where the reliquary had stood. Merritt watched Crane with something like amusement. Crane looked at Merritt with raw hatred, as if she'd abandoned him. D.I. Dutt noticed that. "You know each other," she said. Merritt lifted her cuffed hands slightly. "In this city," she replied softly. "Everyone useful eventually meets." Crane barked. "She promised." Merritt cut him off with a glance, and he stopped talking mid-breath. Back in Gallery 9, D.I. Dutt played the original clip again, frame by frame, slowed until motion became truth. The reflection showed Jonah's fall, Malik's silhouette. Then, for a fraction of a second figure in the corridor's edge, a shoulder, a hand, the glint of a keyring. It hadn't registered before because the brain doesn't like contradictions. Tamsin saw it now and felt sick. "He was there," she whispered. D.I. Dutt nodded. "Crane wasn't just cleaning up," she said. "He was present." Crane's statement came later, behind glass and fluorescent light. He tried denial first, then outrage, then bargaining. "Vale paid," he said finally. "A job, one job. Make Jonah stop. Make it look like security.
D.I. Dutt didn't blink. "And Merritt?" she asked. Crane's mouth tightened. "She designed the witness," he said, eyes darting. "She chose Tamsin. She made the film. She said the museum would protect me if it went wrong." D.I. Dutt's voice stayed flat. "Museums protect donors," she replied, "not killers."
Merritt requested a lawyer and tea, as if both were rights of nature. In the interview room, she spoke with careful patience. "Crane is melodramatic," she said. "He believes he matters." D.I. Dutt slid the laptop evidence report across the table. "You knew he'd come for this," D.I. Dutt said. Merritt's smile barely moved. "Of course," she replied. "That's why I suggested you look again." D.I. Dutt leaned closer. "Why surrender?" Merritt's eyes sharpened. "Because Conrad was sloppy," she said, "and sloppiness attracts police."
Vale folded quickly when confronted with Crane's account and Jonah's laptop. He tried to save himself by offering Merritt. He didn't understand that Merritt wasn't a person you offer. D.I. Dutt watched him crumble with a controlled disgust. Malik was reinstated pending review, his name cleared in official ink that didn't erase the weeks of suspicion. When Tamsin met Malik outside the station, she couldn't find the right words. Malik nodded once, exhausted. "Next time," he said quietly, "don't trust glass." Tamsin swallowed. "Next time," she replied, "I won't look alone."
Jonah's laptop contained what he died for: files, transfers, messages, a complete provenance chain that tied Vale to the theft and tied the museum board to quiet complicity. It wasn't just one artifact. It was a pattern, valuable objects washed clean through respectability. D.I. Dutt printed the list and felt her anger settle into purpose. "This isn't a murder," she murmured to herself. "It's a business." And businesses didn't stop because one employee got caught. They stopped when the market got poisoned. On the day Merritt was formally charged, she arrived in court with hair pinned back and posture perfect, as if she were there to judge everyone else. Tamsin watched from the public benches, hands clenched around a paper cup that had long gone cold. Merritt looked up, and their eyes met. Merritt's expression didn't plead, it didn't threaten. It simply acknowledged, "I can still reach you." D.I. Dutt stood behind the prosecution table, unreadable, refusing to give Merritt even the satisfaction of fear. That night, Tamsin returned to her flat and found a small envelope slipped under the door. No stamp, no address. Inside was a single museum claim tag, blank again, except now it had one printed line: Platform 9A, King's Cross. Tamsin's throat tightened. She stared until the numbers blurred. It wasn't evidence, not cleanly. It was a promise. Behind the tag was a sliver of mirror film, thin as skin. When she held it to the light, the film showed a corridor that wasn't hers. Tamsin called D.I. Dutt immediately. D.I. Dutt arrived, examined the tag, and didn't look surprised, only grim. "She has friends," D.I. Dutt said, "or she has reach." Tamsin whispered, "Is this Merritt?" D.I. Dutt shook her head slowly. "It's the network she taught," she said. She pocketed the film carefully, like a venomous thing. "King's Cross," D.I. Dutt murmured, eyes distant. "A new platform that isn't there." Tamsin felt the city shift around her. London, all reflections and secrets, already writing the next story.